We are live. Hello,
Okay.
good evening, everyone, and welcome to Chit Chat with Sweta. Today, we are here with yet another episode with another very special guest with us. Please welcome Priyanka Dutta. Welcome, Priyanka, to our
Thank you.
show Chit Chat with Sweta. Before we begin, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Your list of accomplishments is huge. So we'll keep it short and simple and we will hear it all from you. So, still, for the knowledge of our audience, Priyanka Datta is listed amongst 101 most fabulous coaching leaders India 2020 by World HRD Congress, ET Now, and Canadian University, Dubai. She is an ICF credentialed coach, associated certified coach, and a certified life and organizational development coach from ICF accredited Symbiosis Coaching USA. She is trained in NLP, psychodrama, and Reiki. She has done a lot of deep inner work with credible international coaches. She has witnessed the transformation in her and her clients. Welcome, Priyanka, once again to Chit Chat with Sweta.
Thank you so much, Sweta. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here.
Priyanka, before we begin and move on to another question, since both of us are life coaches, and a lot of people are intrigued that what is life coaching and what it is all about. So before we go into that space, first tell us, about your coaching journey. How did it begin for you?
Okay. Right. Interesting question. Okay. How did it begin for me? It was unplanned. I never planned to be a coach. And for those who know me, I worked in the corporates before I dived into as a professional coach. And, what I loved about the HR role was, uh, the transformation that the HR can bring in people's mindset and the space that an HR can give and talk. So something that I really loved was training and development and talking to people and whenever they had any issues they would come to me and resolving that kind of a thing. So I really love that. And so after having worked in the corporate, I took a break for 4 years, 4 long years, to raise my son. And then again, I went back to the corporate. And after working for a couple of years, I realized that I wanted to do something different. Not that I don't love HR, I love the role of an HR, but I wanted to do something different wherein, like HR has a lot of gamuts of work. But what really I connected well was, dealing with people. So that's something I really loved. So I thought that I'll hang my corporate boots and do something where I can surely make a huge impact, like through the skills that I have. I'm a very good listener, so those kind of things. And then I had no idea as to what coaching is. So I just made a decision that I will not continue being in the HR role anymore and do something different wherein I can use my skills. And that's when I interacted with a lot of people in LinkedIn, especially, and also a couple of coaches. I would name Santosh Babu, who is a very, very renowned coach. I interacted with him as well, and that discussion with him was life changing for me. And that's when I decided that, okay, I think I want to do something like this where I don't like myself hearing advices or people giving me tips, but I like to figure out things by myself. So I realized that, okay, coaching is something where, you can really take the help of a coach to help you to think differently. And from that space, you can do it. And that's when my journey started. I first tried it on myself. I got certified. I transformed hugely the way I was looking at things, people, everybody, my life transformed. And then there was no looking back. As I think you already mentioned, I have worked with a lot of international coaches, great coaches. I wanted to learn from big people who are masters in their field. And so, yeah, that's when it started and it's on and I'm just loving it. Yeah.
Wonderful, from being into HR, that corporate culture, and then making a shift to coaching, going through that formal education regarding coaching. It's not that, just you decide one day that you want to be a coach and you are a coach. So going through that. But tell us more, how has your first few years been as a coach? Because, first few years when we try do anything new, it's mostly scary, we are skeptical. So how has that been for you?
Yeah. Um, it was interesting, I would say. I just loved every bit of this journey. Somehow, I don't know why I love these paths. Like there are some paths where we find, oh, is it working for me or not working for me? This was one path which maybe I just wanted, and maybe my gifts, whatever I have, it is being fully utilized. So I just loved every bit of it. So when I first started, I did it from Symbiosis coaching. I first opted for a certified life coaching program because I wanted to understand that, is this really going to work for me or not? And so when I did it, I saw a lot of transformation happening in me, like the way, the perspectives, the views that I had about my own self-worth and self-confidence. I was a person who, always felt that I'm not enough. I had to do more, 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 more. So the first years were all of about self-realization, and I never had, this. I never chose this career to be famous or to kind of have a name of that sort, but I chose this career because I deeply feel for it, because I saw that transformation in me. And then somehow, I got in touch with different books. One book which I recommend, all the aspiring coaches, if you can note that that book is very, very important, which is The Prosperous Coach by Master Coach Rich Litwin and Steve Chandler. And I got a chance to be coached by Rich Litwin's intensive, so I flew to Los Angeles to be coached by him. So first 2 years were like absolutely learning and learning and learning, diving deep, understanding more about myself. And it is still on. And the best part is, I just love to read, learn. That had been my forte since I was a child. Very studious, so learning is not at all a problem for me. I love to learn. And yes, getting my first client was very interesting, because you get so scared, like, okay, what do I charge? Is my coaching worth it or not? So that moment, it's more about me, like me as a coach. Okay, am I valued? Am I not? Am I making a difference? And all of that. So yeah, I would say it was interesting, a lot of learning happening in the first few years. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I've made a note of the book, although it's been on my list for quite some time, but now I'll make sure that I'll read that. So thank you for that. And very true,
My
I
pleasure.
think the most beautiful thing about learning is it stays with us forever. So there's no
Yeah.
end to learning, and that's the best thing one can do, to enhance their
Hmm.
knowledge and skills. So that's been very rightly said by you. Next,
Thank you.
now it's a little brave question, I would say. So tell us your bravest moment in your coaching career. What do you think, has been the most bravest moment in your coaching career till now?
I love brave questions, by the way, because as a coach, I love to be challenged, and I love to challenge. So there are many bravest moments, but um, let me think. Which one should I pick up intuitively? Okay, I'll give a client moment, So usually what coaches do is, whenever they meet a client, they would want to be chosen by the client. So they would kind of go to a space where I'm not going to tell them what I see, but I will hold myself back and try to please them so that the rapport is built. But I'm just the opposite of that. I just don't please people. And that's when I know that whether this person is the right fit for me. So the bravest thing I did was, that moment I told my client, I saw that the client was very, although wanted to be coached, but very coming from a space of lot of arrogance and all. So I said, you know what? I don't think you need this, and I don't want to coach you. I don't want. And that's when the client really appreciated me, because The client was looking for something like that, a person who can challenge. And we weren't in that engagement at all. It was just an initial discussion. And I just said whatever I saw. I said, this is what I see. And with this kind of an arrogance, I don't think you'll be able to work deeply on that. And I said, I don't want to work with you. So that was the bravest thing which I did. Um, Although I was a little scared, because I have learned that, what is the use of a coach if the coach doesn't challenge the client, if the coach doesn't tell the client what you're seeing, that's a blind spot, and that's where the growth lies. Yeah, though there are things when, people feel intimidated by, you, because you just say it bluntly. But I have learned this, that in order to make an impact, we have to embrace the discomfort. And so I think I did that. And other things where I flew to LA, for the first time. I invested a huge amount of money in my own learning and growth. That is also one of the bravest thing which I did. I flew all alone. I have never been to US before, so that's also one thing. And intuitively, I chose my coach from Victoria. That is also another bravest thing I did, and it worked fantastically well. I think one of the best decisions of my life to hire a coach from Victoria, Adam Quinney and Bay Quinney, which I'm so in deep gratitude for them. So a lot of brave things I've done, but these are some of the things. I can go on and on. Yeah.
It is indeed a very brave thing to do because as a coach, I have also seen, people, coaches hold themselves back from saying what the client needs to hear only because of the
Mhm.
fear that we might just lose out on that client. So it is
Mhm.
indeed a very brave thing to do, and that's the most appropriate thing to do as well. And another thing, as you mentioned, is we don't generally want to invest on ourselves for our growth and learning. So although the benefits we reap from that later on is unimaginable, however, people just have this constrained mindset, I would say. Rather than other constraints, it's about the mindset constraint which they have, wherein they do not want to invest on their learnings and their skills. So it's indeed a very brave thing which you have done, no doubt about it.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually having a lot of guilt, when I first invested that huge amount. I was like, oh my God, will I get a return on investment on that or not? That's the first question. Typically, like when you're not in that path, you ask these kind of questions. And now those questions doesn't matter at all. Like you yourself see the difference. So yeah. Yeah.
But Priyanka, now that you have been, into coaching for a few years now, so what would you say, are your three most important insights or three most important learnings which you have had as a coach?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Yeah, a lot of learnings actually I had as a coach. I always grew with my clients. I am not that same Priyanka as a coach who started when I started my journey. Every time I coach somebody, I also evolve. So that's why I'm so thankful for my clients as well, because they also challenge me, to be my best. If you ask me, three greatest insights would be, um, number one would be, we can create our life the way we want it to be rather than living a default life. I wish I knew this many, many years ago. Then I would have changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
But the beauty of creating one's own life and not living a predictable life. Oh, after studies, this is going to happen. Having the pen in your own hands and curving your own story, that is possible. Second is, we have so much of possibilities in us. We are a huge, I would say, living, breathing example of possibilities that we haven't even touched an iota of that. And fear holds us back. A lot of our perceptions, it holds us back. So that is second thing, that you can do unimaginable things only if you can dream it, you can have it. So that's not my quote, but it's been said by Walt Disney already. So I believe that's another great insight. And the third is, uh, model what you want in the world. you know
Right.
Leadership is all about modeling, even parenting. A great parent, I would say, is a great leader. So a great teacher is a great leader. I mean, leadership, we just say that it's beyond the corporate world, you know. Leadership is about um, a true leader would be somebody who models what he or she wants to bring about, who you are being in that moment. So these are my greatest learnings. And earlier I used to kind of focus everything, or more of a victim mindset I used to have, and more of a thing where I would say, oh, this is not working, that is not. But now I say, okay, that's fine. What can I do from here? What is it that I need to do? And that's more empowering. So coaching taught me to be more empowering, more humble, and also believe in possibilities that I can create. And so I think in my 12, 15 years of experience that I have, I haven't created that milestone which I created in these 3 years, three spans. And all credit to my coaches, my coaching, and yeah, that's how it is. I deeply, I just have fallen in love with coaching, if I can put it that way. So yeah, I can't tell you how valuable it is. As if like, I have found some miracle, and like, okay, you know what, this is so workable and doable. So yeah.
And as I said, the biggest miracle I think is just realizing that we are capable of creating our own lives, the how we want it to be. That brings to a very
Yes.
interesting thought, to my mind, that if you had a chance to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
That's a wonderful question. I must acknowledge you for asking beautiful questions. Yeah, so change all over again. Um, okay, very frankly, if you ask me, I wouldn't want to change anything, because if anything would have changed, I wouldn't have reached here, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't want to change. I think I love everything that happened, ups and downs. There were a lot of downs in my life as well, even in the career wise. But I am so in gratitude for every experience, because it taught me something, and that's why I'm here. But nevertheless, if I'm a little bit greedy, I would probably wish one thing. I wish I had a coach many, many years back when I was growing. Probably that would have given me, maybe I would have reached a very, very different phase of my life. And maybe I would have made some choices which would have been very, very empowering. So that is what I would want to. Yeah.
That's one thing I also tell people around me, or, whom I meet as a coach, that if you have that opportunity to make that start early in your life, just go for it. Because now that what we are experiencing after being a coach and being coached by so many other people, and the way our lives have transformed, it's a similar thought which I also have, that
Hmm.
only if I would have had this experience few years before, my life would have been on a completely different trajectory, or it would have been on a completely different path altogether. So those who have the opportunity, I always say that never let it go. Just grab it and make the best use of it. That's the best thing one can do. But looking ahead, Priyanka, we are in
Yeah. Yeah.
2020, and it's been a different year for all of us, with this COVID pandemic, and
Mhm.
things have not been as we had expected, right? So, what do you think will be the
Mhm.
future of coaching from here?
Super duper great. No wonder about that. I'm so confident, and I have reasons to say that, because this COVID period, I thought I will not have new clients, but during this period, I had a lot of new clients. And the reason is because now people have realized, they have started introspecting, reflecting inward, and looking at things differently. And they also believe in the fact that if you want to do something scary, big, impossible, it is, you need a support, you need an external support. And the notion that it used to be there, that coaching is remedial, like many a times, I still remember when I started my career also, uh, one of my clients was little finding it difficult to introduce me. You know why? Because she thought that coaching is remedial, because she felt that, oh, that she's working on something and people will judge her, because, oh, that means she is having a problem and that's why she's hired a coach. But it is absolutely different. It's not that. I mean, I don't have a problem. I still have my coaches, and it will be an ongoing journey, but it doesn't mean that I'm sick and I'm mad or I'm depressed or anxiety oriented or I have a problem. No, I want to create my life. And so I want somebody to challenge me, to challenge my thought process. And I'm a person who, loves to challenge status quo and all. So keeping everything in mind and looking at the client's mindset and everything that I'm working with, I can surely say that coaching is having a beautiful future. But yes, the coaches have to do the deep work. It's not that getting certified and just like, oh, how can I coach if I haven't done any deep work on myself? So I have to do that, right? So it has a great future. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I'm a strong believer of possibilities. So for me, people may call me as an optimist or whatever. I don't mind. Yes, I believe in possibilities, and I believe in creations, and I believe in failing also. It's okay. It's in learning. So I would say that it has a great future. But yes, the coaches have to step up. It's not just that the small game that you have to play. You have to step up and then try out different things as well. So yeah,
Very beautifully said. And,
thank you.
as you said that people perceive that coaching is remedial. So let's touch a bit on that. How would you say that coaching is different from counseling or therapy? Because as a coach,
Mhm.
what I have felt is this is one of the most common questions the clients face. That, okay, is it therapy? Is it, some kind of a counseling, or what it is? So let's throw some light on that. How is it different from counseling, therapy? How it
Mhm.
is?
Yeah. So, first of all, I would say that every field has its own benefits and strengths, So, a counseling has a very powerful space, because that's somewhere where, you kind of give a space to the person, you listen them up, and then you kind of help them solve issues of the past and take them forward in a very different way. Therapy, on the other hand, is, yeah, you do have some emotional issues or something, and then you're kind of, that is an altogether different space to be in. Coaching is always about forward movement, but yet I always believe in one thing, and that is, let's say if you have to hit a target, also you have to pull the arrow a little bit back, right? And then you have to shoot it. So coaching, even though it is forward movement, we also dive deep into the psyche of the person and get to know certain things about the person's pattern, which is also related to that kind of a thing. But yes, therapy gets into deeper aspects of it, which is related to the past solving of it, and then healing, releasing it, and all of that. But coaching is like more of a, okay, now what? This is what has happened. It's just for the knowledge bit that we take it. Now, what is it that you're going to do? And you won't believe, like, every coach has their own journey. In my journey, I came across a lot of people like me also. I had some emotional baggages. Like, we all have it. Let's be very honest, we all have emotional baggages, and there's nothing wrong in having emotional baggages, because we don't know how to deal with that. I never had a therapist in my life. I never had a counselor in my life, and I didn't know that these the things which we have. But then I realized that we all have it, and it is important to then work on that. Okay, so what I did was, even though I'm a coach, I also learned a different modality, which is psychodrama. Psychodrama is, again, where it's an action oriented analysis of your perceptions, and then you enact those things out, so which also includes your past healing, your emotional release, the baggages that you carry, so all of that. So when I do the coaching, I combine all of that, like psychodrama, NLP, which is a part of neuro linguistic programming, and then the coaching forward movement. So what I'm trying to say is that although these modalities are very different, but they're interconnected in some way. And one should go with that modality in which you're gifted. Like for me, holding space for someone comes very naturally. In my space, very often my clients cry, very often. Probably that wouldn't be in some other cases. They might have a different gift, but for me it is a thing. And that's when I realized that, okay, if I work on this modality, psychodrama healing modality, it will really benefit the client, like the bow and arrow thing I talked about, right? So pulling it a little backward, helping them with that, and then moving them forward. So yeah, so I don't know if that has given the explanation for the different modalities or not, but this is what I have to say. Yeah.
It has absolutely. And I think it's the beauty of coaching, it allows it to encompass other modalities as well into coaching. And
Yeah.
that is where I believe that some people do tend to get confused as well, in the sense, they think that it is on the lines of therapy or is it counseling. But the thing is that when we are coaching someone, we are encompassing other modalities into it as well. So, that's how we bring in that totality, and that transformation is huge uh, in that case. One very
Yes.
quick question that, what is that one piece of wisdom which you will have for the budding coaches? Because I see today that nowadays a lot of people, either they just call themselves coaches, or is it just the very in thing right now that everybody wants to be a coach? So it's a very upcoming thing. So what do you have to say about this? And for all those who are wanting to be coaches, what's your one nugget of wisdom, I would say?
Yeah. um okay, so again, I'll give it in the form of coaching questions. Like the nugget of wisdom would be, ask, there's nothing wrong in being a coach, if one is desiring to be a coach, that means I believe that they have something in them as a result of which they are wanting to become a coach. So there's nothing wrong. The more the coaches we have, it's a good thing. We have 7+ billion of people out there in the world, and everybody needs someone to really support them in their journey. So there's nothing wrong in that. But one has to take this as a sacred profession, where when I'm saying sacred, it doesn't mean that you'll just give it for free or it's not abandoned. It's the most one of the abandoned profession that you can have. But what I'm saying is, just ask yourself this question: why do you want to be a coach? What is your why? What is your intention in being a coach? Did I lose you, Sweta? Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, just ask yourself this question: why do I want to be a coach? Many times people reach out to me and say that I want to be famous, I want to be in that TED talk, I want to write a book, this, I want to influence people. Well, that is not the why. In that case, then you just want to be famous. Then coaching is not for you. You are dealing with someone's life. I mean, I will not equate it with a doctor, but you are dealing with someone's life. Come on, you have to have that commitment and seriousness when you do that. And for that, you have to be willing to do that deep work yourself. You have to have the courage to dive deep in yourself. And let's say if you're selling something to someone and you yourself is not reluctant to buy something, like as a coach, if you're saying, oh, my coaching has worked, but you are not working with a coach, that is not going to help. So my nugget would be, ask yourself, why have you chosen this profession? What is your why? That is going to give you that liberty to express yourself fully. And that intent is very, very important. Like, what is your why do you want to do? And it's not a free service, by the way. A lot of people think that, okay, I'm just giving it as free and I'm doing this. No, it has so much of work, so much of investment in yourself, and that from that space you do it. So ask yourself some introspection as to why you want to take it up, and if yes, then stay committed to it, because it's equally like an entrepreneur's journey. Like, it's nothing like, you have to be willing to show up in the world. You have to be willing to kind of get out in the world, express yourself. And yeah, so that's an interesting journey. And why not? If people want to be coaches, it's great. But you have to do the deep work and have patience in this journey. Nothing is going to just work out like that. With marketing skills and branding skills, it's not going to work. You have to really do the work and challenge yourself every time. So yeah, that would be
Very
my.
rightly said, we need to know our whys. And most of the
Yes.
people are not even clear. And it's not only about why you want to be a coach, but in other areas of our lives also. As a coach, this is one of the most important questions I ask my clients. And when you ask them,
Mm.
I think for some time they are just blank or clueless, because they don't even know that why do they want to do what they want to do. So once we are clear on
Mm.
that, I think half the journey is in itself, made. You have made that one very big step. So knowing your whys is
Yeah.
definitely very, very important. One
Yeah.
little technical question still I would want to ask you.
Mm.
You know, coaching, is it different for each client, or there are certain set of steps or things which you would follow with each of your client irrespective, or is it customized, as per each client? How does the coaching, procedure takes place?
Mm. So there are two things in my understanding. The client is the agenda. So I do more of one-on-one coaching because for me there is no cookie cutter way that okay, I have used this approach and so I'm going to use this approach with my client. No, every client is different. Our fingerprints are different, so every client is different. Let's understand that. So the client is the agenda. The client has a way of style of dealing with things, learning things, handling things. The client has a pattern. The client has issues which are very, very unique to them. um, I can't bring a background of something and say that, oh, hey, you know what, it worked with this client, so this is going to work with this client. No. So that is one thing. So if I say that client is the agenda, and second, the coach is the most important tool in the coaching session. The reason being, if you have done the deep work in yourself, that means like the tools, you have gamut of tools in front of you. Now, if you're present really with the client, you will know which tool to use. And it would just take a minute, or depending on the experience that you have, to choose which one to do. So it entirely depends on the skill, more of a developing of a skill and the client in front of you. And then from that space, it's like walking in the unknown territory, if I can put it that way, like diving into an unknown territory. And then from that space, creating what you want. But of course, the North Star is there. The client would say that I want to go here. That is a different thing. But now the North Star is here. You have to be open to now explore and then go to that unknown territory. But yes, the more equipped the coach is, again, it majorly depends on the client. The coach doesn't have to do the work, the client will do the work, but the skill which the coach will use will depend on how the client is going to use that to do the work. So it's like that. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a cookie cutter process. No, every client is different. But yes, some skills remains the same. You have to have good listening skills. You have to have you should be able to build quick rapport with the client, and then asking some powerful questions. Powerful question doesn't mean long under long questions or something, but very, very, if you do the deep listening, you'll be able to ask that. Then giving feedback, say what you see, right? And what else? Intuition really works, and intuition of a coach will only work when you are grounded yourself in that moment. So it's a combination of that. Yeah.
What you said, that coach is the most important coaching tool. I think I just got stuck on that. It was like the most beautiful thing I've heard, because
Thank you.
a lot of clients just keep asking what are the tools or what are the things which you are using and this and that. And I think it couldn't have been said in a better way, that coach is actually the most important coaching tool which you are going to have. So that was
Yes.
just beautiful. um,
Thank you.
just one last question and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you have to say about our thought processes and mindsets? Because this is one thing which I feel is, I strongly believe that we are our thoughts. How we think is,
Mm.
what defines our actions as well. And to bring in that change, people say that thoughts is something which is not in our control. That it's very easy to say that change your thought process, but ultimately, how do we do that? And this is one of the major areas of coaching as well. So, how does one work on that? Some few quick, easy tips for the audience so that, it can be a good takeaway for them.
So can you just articulate the question like, okay, can you just repeat it so that I really get this? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's often said that we are what we think, and the general perception is then thoughts is something which is not in our control, right? Most of the people are not even aware of what their thoughts are. It's just very random. So how does one get that control over their thoughts?
Okay. So the premise, I would like to challenge the premise on which you're basing this, because why can't we control our thoughts? That's the thing I would like to challenge first. Um, if you can feed the thoughts, you equally have the power to control them, right? You just need the desire to do it. You are not doing it for some reasons. Yeah, because there is something which you're getting out of it. Some gains are there, or else it could be that it has become a pattern in you to just replay the thoughts again and again. Because I believe that if you want something and you're willing to do the work, you can make it happen, be it a thought also. And advice giving will not work. Let me tell you, no tips is going to work, because the reason is as simple as that. When I'm giving an advice, I can give 10 tips. Okay. Probably I'll share a couple of them, but if I give 10 tips to them, I am only focusing on the intellectual aspect of the mind, right? But if I involve them in a brainstorming session, then what I'm doing is I am helping them to think, I'm making use of their emotive and sensory aspects of everything holistically. And from that space, they would then come out with a solution which would be good for them. So if somebody tells me that I am not being able to put right thoughts, my question would be, tell me more about that, and I will explore like what is happening. So that would be my tip, rather than saying, okay, I can say that, you know what, you replace it with another affirmation, you kind of keep on repeating it every morning you wake up, go ahead with this kind of a thing. But everybody is different. Every individual has a different way of thinking, and they have a different pattern. So we have to understand, to be able to understand them, they have to be willing to sit in that conversation, and from that space it'll happen. So to answer your question, I think I will challenge the premise wherein um, that why can't you change the thought? You can change the thought. If you have the desire to change it, you can do it. Yeah. Yeah.
You have
So
just hit the
yes.
nail on the head that, uh, as coaches, we challenge our clients to come up with the solutions. And that's the beauty of coaching. The change is more impactful. If we just feed them with the
Mhm.
solution, I think the bringing in that change is very, very difficult. So you have just summed
Yeah.
it up beautifully and, perfectly, I would say. Priyanka, it
Thank you.
was just amazing having you with us on the show, and the wisdom, your thoughts, your clarity. I think the audience is just going to benefit amazingly. The way so simply you have put forward everything, yet everything has been so impactful. So, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, for being with us on the show. It was a complete pleasure having you here. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Shweta. And I would like to say a few words for you. So, first of all, thank you very much. Let me receive it wholeheartedly. Whatever you said, it feels really good. Thank you very much. This is also an art I have learned, like receiving. I used to first deflect, okay, like that kind of a thing.
I've been in the
Because,
same space. I was very bad with receiving compliments. I used to be uncomfortable. And this is something which I had to learn that if you can
yes,
give, you need to receive as well. So it's very,
exactly,
very
exactly.
important.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So thank you very much for having me in the show. And I would like to acknowledge you for many things, actually. So Your questions were fantastic. You know, in such a very easygoing, smooth way, you asked such beautiful questions. So this shows about your curiosity, about your level of wisdom that you have. So I'm very honored to be here, in fact. And, yeah, it was a pleasure being in this space. I didn't feel like as if like I'm like in a space where, it's like stressful. No, it's a very soothing space. And I think you created that space for me. So thank you very much for having me. And yeah, it was pleasure being in your presence.
Thank
Yes,
thank you
thanks.
so much, Priyanka. It was
Thank you.
wonderful having you here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And good luck to you for all your future endeavors. Yes.
You too. And you are doing some amazing work. I can see that.
Thank you. You too. You too are doing amazing work. So, yeah, more power to you. More power to you.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah.